The following program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall.
We're signing a health care plan within 2 weeks.
The virus will not have a chance against us.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Russia, 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 Russia. I have such respect for women. I cherish women.
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
We are going to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C.
They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
Hello everybody, it's Jeff. Nice to see everybody. And I hope everybody's been having a good week so far. And certainly getting some warmer weather here in Maine. Usually in August it can get pretty hot around here. Going into the 90s. Now it's getting hot and the humidity ain't helping any either. So the talk of the town lately has been all this hoopla here over the recent capture and of the terrorist there. I can't remember his name offhand, but you know what I'm talking about because everyone's heard it. So he's this guy was captured, and the thing is that how many years did it take to catch this guy? You know what I'm saying? You know, he's like an old man now. He's like in his 70s, okay? And he was one of the people responsible for 9/11, okay? And I mean, I understand that we have to get the bad guys, okay? But at this point, it seems like any further captures or you know whatever of these people is a failure on our government's part not to have got these people sooner. Okay, they should have had all these people rounded up over a decade ago. Okay, and instead, you know, we're getting them in a trickle over time. I mean, it's sort of like you know the Jewish people going around looking for any surviving Nazis. I mean, it's just, you know, it's like, you know, how long is it going to take, okay, to find these people? I mean, we all know where most of these people hailed from, Saudi Arabia, okay, and we still do business with that fucking country, even though, you know, some of their people did what they did to us. And I feel like, you know, hey, look, if you haven't got these people by now, okay, the ones responsible, then, you know, please don't brag about it on TV that, oh, we caught one, because I'm telling you, it's like a slap in the face, because a lot of people have already died waiting for justice to come, you know, and I'm talking about the survivors from 9/11, you know, the families and stuff like that. A lot of these people have already passed on and not really ever seen any real justice brought down to the sons of bitches that caused that mess that day, okay? And no matter what you believe, whether you believe it was an inside job or a foreign job, you know, or as they explained it on the surface, it doesn't really matter. The point is that when you look back over everything, we've done very little justice over that and a whole lot of injustice in the process by rounding up people who had nothing to do with 9/11 and torturing them and using them like guinea pigs and stacking them up in pyramids while they were naked and taking selfies behind, in front of them. I mean, we've done a lot of friggin' nasty shit, but not a whole lot of justice, okay? And I think, this country deserved a hell of a lot more justice than it got from 9/11, okay? I guess it's sort of the same way when you talk about the Kennedy assassination. Not a whole lot of justice was brought out of that, because you had people in the government lying, covering, okay? And if it was Lee Harvey Oswald who was responsible for the whole thing, you'd think they would have been leaping and jumping to dump all the stuff on him instead of, lying, to America about certain things that happened that day, okay? So, like I said, a lack of justice here concerning 9/11. And I don't think that's going to improve any at all. But arresting people now and getting on TV and trying to get accolades for it and stuff and saying, oh, look what we accomplished, and I was the president when we got the, fuck that, okay? It's too late for that shit now. That event happened over 20 years ago, okay? And it's too late now to go and try to jump on that, on any victory of that to bolster your polls and approval numbers. I'm sorry, I just, it's not of interest right now at the forefront in American people's minds. What we're worried about today is our economy, okay? It's always the economy, stupid, okay? Our economy and things going on with Russia, China, okay? Our attention is divided into other areas now, and it's not, we don't really give much thought anymore about finding any more people from 9/11, okay? I'm sorry. I mean, that might sound callous, but put that on a ballot and see how many people give a shit about voting anything on it, okay? I'm sorry, it's not prominent anymore. Which tells me, this should have been cleared up, years and years ago. This should have been all settled years and years ago. Instead, we're dragging this thing out, I think it's ridiculous. And then on top of that, to add, some weird thing going on here, and I waited a little while before I wanted to talk about this, is Donald Trump's ex-wife passing away and having her buried on a golf course in New Jersey, I guess. People have been talking about this for days now, and they're trying to figure out what the hell was he thinking, okay? And aside from the fact that whatever this guy's thinking is usually going to be stupid anyway, you've got members of the press out there trying to, guess, try to theorize as to the reasoning behind the golf course issue. And there's an article that I picked here to write about this, and to read about this, I'm sorry. And I think I'll read this to you here. This was written yesterday from Fortune magazine, and it's written by Chloe Taylor, entitled, "Does Donald Trump Get a Tax Break by Burying Ex-Wife Ivana at His Golf Club?" I've heard discussion about that too. Donald Trump's first wife, Ivana, was buried in a gold-hued coffin at the former president's New Jersey Golf Club last month, following an Upper East Side funeral service where she was remembered as a woman who was quote-unquote adored. However, the Trump family has been accused of having ulterior motives for choosing the golf course as her final resting place, motives that could benefit the family patriarch's finances. Trump's first wife and mother to his three oldest children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric, passed away in July. She was laid to rest at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey, according to the New York Post, which reports that her grave is, quote, not too far from the main clubhouse, unquote. Documents published by ProPublica show that the Trump Family Trust previously sought to designate a property in Hackettstown, around 20 miles from the golf course, where Ivana is buried, as a non-profit cemetery company. Defining the golf course as a cemetery could grant the business as a whole raft of tax breaks. Under New Jersey law, land being used for cemetery purposes is exempt from real estate and personal property taxes, as well as sales tax, inheritance tax, business tax, and income tax. Cemetery property is also exempt from sale or collection of judgments, with cemetery trust funds and trust income exempt from both tax and sale or seizure for collection of judgments against the company. Ivana Trump is the only known person to have been buried on site at Trump National Golf Club, according to reports. Brooke Harrington, a tax researcher and professor of sociology at Dartmouth, said in a tweet on Sunday that using the golf course as a cemetery was, quote, a trifecta of tax avoidance, unquote. She added that in New Jersey, there is, quote, no stipulation regarding a minimum number of human remains necessary for the tax breaks to kick in, unquote. Quote, looks like one corpse will suffice to make at least 3 forms of tax vanish, unquote, she said. A representative from the Trump Organization told Fortune in an email on Monday that links being made between Ivana Trump's gravesite and tax laws were, quote, truly evil, unquote. Trump himself has previously expressed wishes to be buried at his New Jersey golf club, telling the New York Post in 2007 that he wanted to be laid to rest in the, quote, beautiful land, unquote, of Bedminster. Quote, Mr. Trump specifically chose this property for his final resting place as it is his favorite property, unquote, his company wrote in 2014, a filing seen by the Washington Post. The filing sought approval to build a 10-plot private family mausoleum at Trump National Golf Club. Resistance from local decision makers reportedly led to withdrawals and resubmittals of proposed burial sites over the years, with Trump's ideas ranging from a small but opulent family mausoleum to a 1,000 gravesite that would see plots for sale to members of the golf club. While registering the golf course as a cemetery would exempt it from taxes, the former president already found a way to slash his tax bill for the New Jersey club by registering it as a farm, the Huffington Post reported in 2019. Trump reportedly owns several goats and farms hay at the resort, which reduced his tax bill by around $88,000 a year, according to a Huffington Post analysis. Under this arrangement, the golf course was taxed at just over $6 an acre in 2019, rather than $462 an acre. A year earlier, the New York Times reported that Trump had used various techniques to evade taxes on the fortune he inherited from his father. Meanwhile, documents filed by the New York Attorney General earlier this year accused the Trump Organization of massively misrepresenting the value of some of its biggest assets in order to secure loans and insurance and tax breaks. So, it's stunning, okay, to say the least, that, you know, for people to ask the question, did he do this to try to avoid taxes? Of course he did, okay? He's already being investigated on tax evasion in the first place. So if there's anything here that's going to benefit him tax-wise, and putting his wife in the ground in a golf course and then having that golf course relabeled as a cemetery so he can get tax breaks, of course he's going to do that. Okay, of course he's going to do that. All right, there's no reason to ask whether he would or not. And his kids seem perfectly fine about it, you know. I mean, I guess, you know, it's a family. It's as odd as it seems. I mean, it's a sick family, but that's the way they operate. Okay, they're using their mother, the kids using their mother as a way to dodge paying taxes on property. Okay, now I could go as far as saying that he probably did this also for the fact that he's under a lot of lawsuits and shit like that right now, and he's under investigation, and I think he's trying to protect what he can because he knows they're going to come after it. And I think that if he takes this big piece of land that's a golf course and he turns it into a cemetery, all right, to avoid taxes, well, they can't touch it. If they rule against him, they can't take that land. That's not according to the law here in New Jersey. They can't touch it. So when you read something like this, okay, or you hear about these things talking about what he's done, do you think it matters at all to his supporters? Do you think they give a shit that the guy that they idolize and want to be like is out there doing these kind of things just to avoid paying taxes? Well, let's take a look at that picture here for a second. These people that love Trump, they're all anti-American, okay? They don't like anything that's tied to the United States, which means they don't like paying taxes any more than Donald Trump does, okay? These people want to live their life without having to contribute to the village, as they say. It takes a village, right? They don't want to contribute their part in making America great again, which is this thing that they've been wanting to do, according to the hats they wear. They don't want to contribute. They just figure that somebody else will do it, or it'll fix itself. But this country never could run without tax money. Okay, it can't run. We can't do anything without tax. You can't even have a military to defend us without tax dollars. Okay, you can't have the police department, the fire department, mail services, anything that's coming to you, and you're not paying out of pocket for. I mean, that's it's taxpayer money that's paying for that. Okay, and yet they shit all over that, call it communist, socialism, stuff like that, all in the vain attempt to justify not paying their taxes, okay? And so they see this guy, Donald Trump, manage to wiggle himself out of paying taxes here on that piece of land out in New Jersey by burying his ex-wife there and then declaring that, well, first he declared it a farm. Remember, it said in there about he was growing hay there and he had some animals there. And by doing that, he declared it a farm, so he was protecting his land from taxes in that way. Well, now he can reclassify that land as a cemetery because his ex-wife is buried there now, okay? And with that being said, he's saving himself, some money there. And I think that, it isn't, the savings that he's going to get from that isn't what you consider big money for him, okay? But I think what it is that he's trying to protect what he has, okay? To protect it from getting in the hands of the government should he lose, in any of these a number of cases against him. He doesn't want anybody to take anything that he's got, okay? Even if, even the golf course. I mean, he's going to protect it and do whatever it takes to do so. I mean, until they change the law, I guess, right? But the thing is that this is, it's pretty despicable, okay? I mean, it's the kind of act you wouldn't expect somebody to do with a straight face and still feel like I can go around in public and give speeches and stuff like that, knowing that they know what you did, by, burying your ex-wife whom he cheated on, okay, with another woman. And he's just, he's really the lowest of the low, okay, as far as, men in America are concerned, okay? He's really low, and he doesn't seem to care about it at all. I mean, some people could say, oh, well, he's losing his mind. Well, I don't know about that, okay? Maybe he was always that way, and it just never came out until he started to become a public figure in public, in politics rather. You know, it's different to be a public figure as a rich man going around, you know, showing up at big clubs and stuff like that, and, you know, saying things, but nobody ever really asked him anything political, you know, before he started his quest to be president, okay? And now that he's gotten all this attention and he's gotten all this limelight, and, you know, we've seen him doing all these things, it's, you know, it's making people turn, you know, green and want to throw up. You know, some people actually are regretting that they ever supported the guy for president, although they'll never really admit it. You know, what'll happen is as time goes on, people won't even really talk about Trump much anymore. Just like you can't get anybody to admit who voted for Nixon, you know, they're never going to admit who voted for Trump. If you ever ask anybody, they'll just deny it, okay? And I think that's the way Trump is just going to phase out in this country after we have our next election and stuff like that. He's just going to be, you know, on everybody's, you know, back burner, essentially. And Trump's just going to fade away after a while. Right now, he doesn't want to fade away. He wants people to keep him in mind, so they'll keep donating money to him, to the Republican Party, because he is the Republican Party now. I mean, that's their spokesperson, a criminal. I mean, go figure. The Republican Party now is represented by a criminal, and a guy who's got blood on his hands from how many hundreds of thousands of people that he led to their death in this country over the pandemic by lying to them about what they were supposed to do about it. Okay, the guy's he's a murderer, and he's a fucking criminal in every way. So this is what's representing the GOP, the Republican Party, whatever you want to call it, okay? That's who they got, okay? If that isn't enough to sway people from wanting to stay hooked up to that group of people, to stop them from voting, you know, for what things they come up with, I don't know what else we can do, honestly. I really don't know what else we can do, because those people are lost causes. They really are lost, you know? And, you know, I feel like, you know, why waste our breath anymore? I mean, the facts speak for themselves. I mean, it's like the truth is now in the pudding around us. Okay, and if you're not tasting the truth, then you're not eating. You're just going through life with your head up in the air and your eyes closed, and you don't care. You don't want to hear it. You know, and I think that's the way Trump people are dealing with this now, is that they just don't care anymore. They don't want to hear anything else about what he did or what he didn't do. They don't want to hear about any of that stuff. They've decided that Trump is a great person to emulate. They want to do the things that he does, and I wouldn't be surprised that in the years to come, you're not going to see a plethora of Republican idiots out there turning their property into cemeteries when they want to bury their family members there. All right, so let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Dear CEO, what's it gonna take for you to do something? Yeah, do you even care?
Climate change affects all of us.
This is your chance to do something good.
So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes. So what are we going to do here, folks? I only need 11,000 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
This is the best opportunity to prosecute Trump. The best chance to actually prosecute Trump is and has always been the Georgia case. In the Georgia case, there is a 1 hour plus tape of Trump breaking federal and state laws.
He's on tape.
And it's him directly.
He broke the law.
Not people on his behalf. Trump is on that tape breaking federal and state laws.
We can't let him get away with this. If I'm beaten and raped in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my rapist. If I am raped by my father, brother, or uncle and get pregnant in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my family abuser. This new law is so draconian that I can be prosecuted for having an abortion, and so can my doctors, friends, and family who advise me, or even the Uber driver who simply drives me to the clinic. This is madness. The same people who have been protesting and screaming, "My body, my choice," when it comes to the COVID vaccine, are now saying I don't have any control over my own body. Texas Republicans won't require a 12-year-old girl to wear a mask in school that may save her life and the lives of other children, but they will force her to keep a baby regardless of how she got pregnant, including rape and incest. I am a woman, and I have a constitutional right to make decisions for my own body. I am a woman, and I have a human right to refuse to give birth to my rapist's baby. I am a woman. This is my body. I am a woman. This is the United States of America. I am a woman. You do not own or control my mind or my body.
My body is my choice.
Shame on the men and women who passed this law, and shame on anyone who sits in silence while women suffer and die because of it.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. So, another article here talks about the Justice Department suing Idaho over its abortion restriction. And this was written by Hannah Rabinowitz and Veronica Strackwelarcy. Sorry, I can't pronounce that. That's the longest. Okay, this was written today. The Biden administration filed a lawsuit on Tuesday against Idaho for restricting access to abortion to patients who need life-saving medical treatment, the first such Justice Department challenge since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade this summer. Idaho's near-total abortion ban, which will take effect later this month, would make it nearly impossible, according to the Justice Department, for patients who need an abortion in emergency medical situations, such as an ectopic pregnancy or other complications from receiving potentially life-saving treatment. Quote, in the days since the Dobbs decision, there have been widespread reports of delays or denials to pregnant women experiencing medical emergencies, unquote. Attorney General Merrick Garland said in a news conference Tuesday, quote, we will use every tool at our disposal to ensure that pregnant women get the medical care they are entitled to, unquote. The trigger law, which was passed in 2020, would make providing abortions a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. The ban has exceptions for cases of rape or incest if reported to law enforcement or to prevent the death of the pregnant person. The Justice Department is suing under the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, which states that hospitals receiving Medicare funds, quote, must provide medical treatment necessary to stabilize that condition before transferring or discharging the patient, unquote. according to the Tuesday's lawsuit. Quote, the Idaho law would make it a criminal offense for doctors to comply with EMTALA's requirement to provide stabilizing treatment, even where a doctor determines that abortion is the medical treatment necessary to prevent a patient from suffering severe health risks or even death, unquote, DOJ said in its lawsuit. In a statement, Idaho Attorney General Lawrence Wasden accused the Justice Department of filing, quote, a potentially motivated lawsuit, a politically motivated lawsuit, unquote. DOJ last month created a task force aimed at protecting abortion fights following the Supreme Court decision in Dobbs that overturned Roe v. Wade and struck down the federal right to abortion. Under the Idaho law, which is set to take effect on August 25th, abortion providers could be subject to arrest and prosecution if a prosecutor can show that an abortion has been performed, with the burden placed on providers to prove an, quote, affirmative defense, unquote, at trial, according to the DOJ. The law, quote, places medical professionals in an impossible situation. They must either withhold stabilizing treatment required by EMTALA or risk felony prosecution and license revocation. In doing so, the law will chill providers' willingness to perform abortions in emergency situations, unquote. Associate Attorney General Vanita Gupta, who's the head of the task force, said on Tuesday. Garland said that the lawsuit has, quote, nothing to do with going around, unquote, the Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs. Quote, the Supreme Court said that each state can make its own decisions with respect to abortion, but so too can the federal government, unquote, he told reporters Tuesday. Quote, nothing that the Supreme Court said that the statutes passed by Congress, such as EMTALA, are in any way invalid. It's quite the opposite. The Supreme Court left it to the people's representatives. EMTALA was a decision made by the Congress of the United States. The Supremacy Clause is a decision made in the Constitution of the United States. Federal law invalidates state laws that are in direct contradiction, unquote. Abortion providers and advocates in Idaho have also challenged the state's trigger law, arguing that the law is so vague that providers are unsure whether they can provide care for patients in cases such as miscarriages. The state Supreme Court is set to hear the case on Wednesday. Oh, so yeah, here we have, a mess being formed here in Idaho, and the Supreme Court's being challenged on this. And because, like I said, the law was so vague that the doctors themselves don't even know when they're supposed to do anything. So a lot of these patients going in there to get care are not really getting the care they should have got before this Supreme Court mess, okay? Because the doctors are too afraid to become, sued, lose their license and stuff like that. When the Republicans push for this to happen, okay, they gave very little thought to how this was going to play out on the national scale, okay? All that mattered to the Republicans was that these bans would be put in place, okay? They couldn't wait to get that in place. They had the laws set to be triggered as soon as the Supreme Court handed down its ruling, okay? Once that was done, the laws went right into effect. But they never gave any damn thought, to how their law or how their rule is going to apply in these different cases here. And because they don't think before they act, as they often do, okay, now they've opened themselves up to litigation across the nation, okay? There's all kinds of fucking lawsuits and everything that's going to be opened up. A can of worms is basically a legal can of worms that, in my opinion, is going to force the ban to be erased, essentially. Because it's going to cause so much legal mess that they're going to say that, look, if the next time you want to put a ban on abortion, come back with something better than just simply banning it. Have this thing written out in a fucking 200-page thing on what constitutes a ban here and what doctors can or can't do. Because they didn't do that here. And so you can't just ban something without giving people some idea of how this is going to work. You know, because in situations that involve some women who could conceivably lose their life if they don't have an abortion or something, they don't have anything laid out for that scenario. To them, all it is just a black and white issue. Yes and no. Ban or not ban. And that's what they're doing. That's what they've done here. And so they've created a mess here that opened themselves up to so much litigation that, you know, these justices will have to remain in the Supreme Court forever in order to defend what they did. Otherwise, as soon as they're gone, this is going to be all overturned all over again, because how stupid and how much money is being wasted, you know, across the country fighting this ban in all these different ways. Okay, I mean, it's the dumbest thing. But you know, when was a Republican ever clear or ever right about anything they ever did? Okay, when have they ever made the right choice about anything? I can't think of anything. I mean, I don't know what the hell the rest of you might think, but Republicans are masters at screwing things up royally. So another article here concerning the lunatic Alex Jones. This article here was written today from Insider, written by Natalie Masemiki, titled, Alex Jones railed against Sandy Hook parents on his broadcast as they testified against him at trial. The jury heard the insults in court. Far-right conspiracy theorist or nut Alex Jones railed against the mother and father of one of the children killed in the Sandy Hook massacre on his InfoWars broadcast on Tuesday as the dad testified against him at his defamation damages trial. Jones appeared on InfoWars while the trial was ongoing, and Sandy Hook father Neil Heslin was testifying against him. During the broadcast, Jones referred to Neil Heslin as, quote, slow, unquote, and someone who is being, quote, manipulated by some very bad people, unquote. Heslin's lawyer played the clip for the Texas jury as Scarlett Lewis was on the witness stand. Quote, it makes me feel astounded in a bad way. It's horrific, 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 unquote, Lewis told the court when her attorney asked her how it made her feel watching the broadcast Jones made as Heslin testified earlier. Heslin and Lewis, the parents of slain 6-year-old Jesse Lewis, have sued Jones, the founder of InfoWars, and his media company, Free Speech Systems, for defamation over his false, quote-unquote, hoax claims about the 2012 Newton, Connecticut mass shooting that left 20 first graders and 6 educators dead. Wesley Ball, an attorney for Heslin and Lewis, brought Jones's broadcast to the court's attention before the jury entered the courtroom after a lunch break. Quote, while Mr. Heslin was on the stand, Alex Jones was on his radio show saying that what I believe to be pretty much per se defamatory statements of Mr. Heslin, unquote. Ball told Travis County District Court Judge Maya Guerra-Gamble. Ball explained that during the broadcast, Jones mentioned Lewis's name, which he said, quote, goes directly to her claim for emotional distress, unquote. Jones's defense attorney, F. Andion Renail, said that he was, quote, told that the broadcast goes on and Jones says he's sorry, unquote, as he argued against the clip being played for the jury. The judge ultimately allowed the clip to be played for the jury as Jones was in the courtroom. Jones was not in the courtroom earlier Tuesday when Heslin took the witness stand and called Jones, quote-unquote, cowardly for not being there to hear his testimony. Quote, I think it's disrespect. I think it's cowardly act of Alex Jones not facing me here in this courtroom, unquote, Heslin said. Heslin told the jury that he has endured a, quote-unquote, living hell due to the, quote, negligence and recklessness of Alex Jones and the propaganda that he peddled for his own profits and success, unquote. In the aftermath of the Sandy Hook massacre, Jones repeatedly told his audience that the shooting was a, quote, giant hoax, unquote, staged by the government with, quote, crisis actors, unquote. He has already been found liable for defamation by the Texas court and a court in Connecticut for his depiction of the rampage, the deadliest school shooting in American history. The jury in the trial will determine how much money Jones must pay to Heslin and Lewis, who are seeking $150 million in compensation damages. He ought to get a friggin' audit to determine where where he shuffle gamed his wealth off to, which shell company or offshore account, which I'm sure he's probably done. Okay, because look, he knew this was going to happen. He must have known. I mean, as crazy as he is when he talks on the radio, he must have known that sooner or later he was going to have to pay the piper for the things he says on the radio. I mean, you can't talk crap about something like Sandy Hook and expect that the parents of the children that died are just going to sit and not say anything. Of course they're going to say something, and if you're capable of saying something, then that means some of them might even go a step further and sue you in court. So that being said, he probably took some of the money he had there and hid it in places. That's what I'm thinking he did. And he says he never meant to hurt any of the Sandy Hook parents. Well, that's not the way he sounded on the radio. I mean, he was making direct claims that, it was a hoax and it was this, it was that. How can you say you didn't mean to offend, the parents of the kids who died, and then turn around and say, the whole thing was a hoax? Of course that's going to be offended, and of course that's intentional, unless he was drunk that day he said that and has no recollection of it. But the fact is, he said it. And the only reason he's being sorrowful now is that he's trying to get away with doing what he did on the radio, okay? Because he, like many people in America who think free speech means freedom to say anything you want, no matter where you are, is not true. There is no absolute freedom of speech in America. You have to be accountable for the things you say. Okay, you can say it, but if you piss somebody off and they want to sue you, hey, they got a right too. They got a right to sue you if what you're saying is not true and it's hurtful to them in some way. And there's a lot of people out there. I mean, a person like Rush Limbaugh should have had to face that, that specter there at some point in his career, which he, as far as I know, never did. Okay, and because he said a lot of hateful things on the radio over the years when he was around. Okay, but people like Alex Jones and others, this is not the kind of country where you think that you can just say what you want. I mean, aren't they the ones that are always saying, piss on the freedom of speech and all this shit, and they all pile on defending the Second Amendment, okay? But they don't care at all about freedom of speech. They don't want anybody on the opposition saying anything bad about the things that they do in government, like this abortion ban and stuff like that. They get pissed when people talk about that, okay? But yet, they want people to just sit back and take it when they criticize or make up lies about something that was like Sandy Hook. I mean, who the hell could, it's just, to me, it's very hypocritical, okay, for them. When it's okay for them to say the kind of crap that they say, but if the Democrats respond to it in kind, they don't like that. So it's like, well, look, if you don't like the friggin' criticism that you get from the Democrats, then shut your fucking mouth. Okay? Stop going on the air and saying these outlandish things, and stop making people upset and angry, because you will answer for it. People are only going to take so much of that before they say enough is enough. And, you're going to end up sweating bullets, regretting that you went as far as you did, if you're smart. If you're not, well, you're not going to care. You'll just go back to doing what you were doing before once the trial is over. But if you've got a brain in your head at all, you'll modify your behavior on the radio. But the thing of it is that, like I said, Republicans have this notion in their head that they should be allowed to just insult anybody they feel they want to, and say, whatever the hell they want, without having to worry about being, having to be asked to answer for it in some way. Like, what did you mean by that? Or are you insulting these people? Because, because it opens you up to litigation. It opens you up to being brought to court, I'm like, I can't go stand out on the friggin' middle of town, okay, and make up shit about the governor, okay, saying she did this and that when she didn't do any of it, okay. I'm begging for a lawsuit, okay. That's what's going to happen, okay, and that she's got every right to sue somebody for tarnishing her image, okay. You got to have that. I mean, you can't let people just get away with smearing everybody, all over the mat there, as it were. But Alex Jones, I mean, this guy, even his personal life is all messed up. But the thing of it is that he's just really a guy that America could live without. We don't need him. He's making his bones trying to imitate the likes of people like Limbaugh and Hannity and Ingram and, Ann Coulter. He figures, if he sees these people doing it, that he can do it and take it a step further. Well, no, you can't. You really can't, because you're going to end up getting yourself in a lot of trouble. And finally, here, this article here, released today by Anders Hagstrom, entitled "Teenage Pro-Life Activist Allegedly Punched in the Face While Knocking on Doors in Kansas." A Kansas woman allegedly attacked a teenage pro-life canvasser when the student knocked on her door Sunday. The student, Grace Hartsock, was going door to door to turn out Kansas voters for a Tuesday referendum on abortion law. The incident occurred when she approached a home in Leywood, according to Students for Life, the organization with which Hartsock was volunteering. Hartsock says a woman answered the door and politely stated she was not interested when she learned why Hartsock had knocked. Quote, "No, I'm sorry, I don't think you want to talk to us," unquote, the woman said. Hartsock turned to leave when another voice, also a woman, came from further inside the house, yelling and cursing. Quote, "Don't apologize to her, Mom," unquote, the woman yelled, according to SFL. The second woman, whose identity is unknown, then reportedly followed Hartsock out of the house while beating her. SFL says the woman shoved Hartsock in the chest and began striking her head with closed fists. Hartsock weathered the blows until the woman's mother got the daughter to stop. The woman continued yelling, however, telling Hartsock, quote, "I hope you get raped," unquote, and, quote, "I hope you get run over by a car," unquote, SFL says. The teenager was able to capture the final moments of the encounter with her phone, showing the woman back away toward the house while still hurling expletives. SFL says Hartsock has filed a complaint to the Leawood Police Department regarding the incident. Hartsock declined an interview with Fox News Digital. Quote, "Since she was struck, the student is experiencing headaches and body soreness, and Students for Life Action has connected her with an attorney. She and Students for Life Action are considering a legal response," unquote. Kansas residents are voting on an amendment to the state constitution that would allow state lawmakers to regulate abortion access. The state will be the first in the country to hold a vote on abortion access since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in late June. And apparently there's a huge turnout in Kansas for this vote here, which is interesting. So it's we know that this abortion issue is heavily on everybody's mind in the country here, not just Kansas. So it's going to play a role in November's elections when it happens. So, but this is the craziness that people have to live with in today's world now when it comes to social issues, which, in my opinion, don't belong in government, okay? Government shouldn't have to deal with things like abortion and stuff like that. This is stuff that, should be taken care of by people using their own beliefs, their own morals and whatnot. And instead, because people are trying to actively get involved in other people's lives by imposing their rules, their beliefs, their ideals onto them, people have gotten so fed up with that they go to their representatives and ask that laws be created to stop, other people from, imposing their fat in your life, And so I feel like, that's the only reason why this has become a political thing, is because people who want to live their life peacefully and not be bothered with other people's notions can't do that anymore, okay? And they've got no choice but to go to government and beg them to do something to prevent other people from interfering in their personal life. And that's really the crux here of this whole thing. It's not so much about the issue of abortion. I mean, you can be pro-life or anti-abortion, in your opinion, and that's your opinion, okay? You can live that way if you want. If you're against abortion, fine. If you're for it, fine, okay? I think people have a right to make their own choices. Just like, when a kid finally leaves home, goes to college and makes his life, I mean, that kid's got a right to do what he wants and make his bones and fall on his face and pick himself up and continue. We all have to do that, okay? We all have to leave the nest sometime and learn how to live our lives as individuals, okay? But you can't do that when you got other people who are also out there who are supposed to be living their life as individuals, interjecting themselves into other people's lives and trying to control it because they don't like what they're doing. Well, that's not your damn business, okay? There's nothing in the Bible that says you've got to go and step into other people's homes and tell them how they're supposed to screw in bed and how they're supposed to deal with babies and how you deal with pregnancies. And there's nothing that says they're supposed to do that, okay? I don't care what you quote me out of the Bible. You can twist the meaning of anything and justify the way you think in the Bible, because the Bible is deliberately vague on most issues that we deal with today, okay? It's always up to the reader to decide what it is. That's why you can't get two people in the same religion to agree on a goddamn thing that as according to the Bible, okay? But the fact is that the real issue here is about personal privacy and people having the right to live their life as they see fit, okay? If they do something wrong, it's on their head that the axe of blame is going to fall. You don't want to be messed up in that, okay? If you encourage somebody to go do something that you think they should do and it fails and it destroys, where are you going to go? You're going to go run and hide so that way you can avoid responsibility for what you did? Okay? I mean, that's what Republicans like to do, right? They like to protect the fetus, but when the fetus becomes a baby, okay, and it's born, well, it's all up to you now. We wash our hands of the whole thing then, okay? We protected the fetus, but now that that's a baby and it's crying and needs food and you can't afford to feed it, hey, that's your problem. Don't come crying to us. So, as hypocritical as that stance is on the right wing, okay, people really ought to be stressing the fact that no, the issue isn't like I have a right to do what I want with my body. It's like I have a right for you to keep your nose out of my fucking business, okay? You stay the hell away from me. And don't bother me with what you believe. Don't come throwing your Bible in my damn face. Don't come to my door pounding on it, demanding that I stop doing. Don't bring your guns over here either, okay? You stay the hell away from me. I got a bubble around me and you're not allowed in it, okay? And so I feel like, we have to treat each other like little kids in this matter, because people haven't understood after leaving home that now that they're adults, they have a right to their privacy. They don't have to be micromanaged by two people or a person or a guardian anymore, okay? We don't have to live that way. And because people seem to have a need to be a micromanager, I pity the kids that they have, because they probably got their nose so far up their ass they probably can't do anything. But the fact is that there are people out there who have a need to be micromanaging everybody's personal life, okay? Why they're like that, I don't know. That probably comes from upbringing, okay? But that's wrong. To do that is a wrong thing to do. You don't do that. I mean, if you want friends in your life, the best thing to do is to stay out of their fucking lives, okay? Unless they come to you and ask you personally for advice, I wouldn't give it to them, okay? And so in this situation, nobody's asking anybody about abortion, whether I should have it or not, okay? That's not your business. So don't go where you're not welcome. Stay the hell out of it. Alright, so that's it for today, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Keep your ears open on the monkeypox thing and the COVID-19 thing. We got 2 cases of monkeypox here in the state here already. And so, you know, it's been on the news and stuff like that, and it's already aroused the anger of these extreme right-wing nuts by saying, "Oh, this is a plot to create a new world order." I mean, where the hell did they get this shit anyway? I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So keep that in mind as you go out in public and stuff. That, you know, now we have 2 things that we got to protect ourselves from. And if you haven't got your vaccination, consider getting one. And treat each other nice. Okay. Comment and subscribe here if you've got the time, and I'll be happy to read what you got to say. So take care, everybody, and I'll see you whenever. Bye-bye.